So, and I feel like one of you, maybe it was you, Lilia, did you ask about what we were seeing for?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
2022. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything, um, I keep hearing a lot of people's channelings and different people, and some of the things are pretty consistent. And I'm still staying present though. Still staying present. I'm still hearing things, um, such as make sure you have enough food and water and those types of things, pulling money out of the stock market, hearing all those things. So I'm kind of hearing, receiving, and then just having some discernment around what feels right for me, because I know that, there are a lot of sources of information right now. So there's supposed to be a lot of changes coming up from what I understand. But I'm still, me personally, when I try to, feel into what's ahead of us, I keep being brought back into present moment. Like, don't go there. Let's just stay here. Let's just stay
Mm.
here and be really, really present. So I'm wondering what you're all experiencing with that, or if you've heard anything specific or.
I've mostly heard that, I guess that again, staying in that present, because if you're in that neutral space, you'll like we said earlier, you'll manifest easily and you'll manifest with what your intention is. So things will just sort of pop in. And with everything moving so quickly, and we're in a constant heightened state, where um, there used to be more lulls in between, you'd have a lot of energy moving and things changing, and then a little lull to integrate it. It feels like this year it's just going to be more just a steady stream of that higher consciousness coming in. And I think that's why the present moment, being in that flow state, is so important, so you can just easily shift. Like if you're in that moment, you will be able to see and just kind of naturally just, need to go over here, need to go over here, and just flow with it rather than it trying to force anything. And if it makes it easier, so if you can just kind of just ride those waves, it'll be it'll be a smoother ride than if you're not doing that, is what I'm kind of getting, I guess. Because it's just going to be it's just going to be more of what we've had, just a continuum of that. But I feel like it's shifting in the right direction. It feels like, so much has been cleared in the last year. Not that we're not that's not still happening in the collective, but I'm seeing that shifting in more to the positive, like clearing enough out that it's moving in a higher direction now. So I see that that's coming forth and manifesting some in this year.
That's awesome. I'm kind of seeing the same thing, Catherine. Um, and it started back in October, November. The guides were just like, this year is going to be really intense for light workers. Like there's so much light coming in. Like it's crazy, crazy good. So it's a really good time. It's a really good year. If people want to take a class with channeling or mediumship or remote viewing or anything like that, like this is the year to do it. If you wanted to teach a class, this is the year to do it. Yeah, just a lot of intense light codes are going to be coming in all year that are just up for the taking, like up for the grab, like just go for it. And I think there's also, like, I felt like a quickening of time too. Like time is just going by so fast, like it's crazy. And sometimes my left brain is like, nope, I want it to slow down because there's that means my life is going to be shorter. And so that's not really how it works. But yeah, the time is just going by so fast. And then I think numerologically, I don't know how to say that. numerology speaking, I guess. It's the year of the, let's see, it's 2022, which is a 6 year. So it's all going to be about relationships for people, like your spouse or your siblings, like, things are going to be brought up that you have to take a look at, and to clear, you know. And then you were right. I think, the last few years, light workers have been doing the work, and they've been clearing themselves and clearing, the density off the planet, and doing like mass meditations. So I think that's allowed for more light to come in the next few years, so I do see that happening. So all good. But then I disconnect from the news, so I don't know what's happening. Sometimes I'll see a quick glimpse on a post, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, you know. So I think it could be intense for many people who are still not awakened. And so that's what we're here for, to hold space, hold light, hold compassion, and just be here whenever, if and whenever they're ready. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
mentioning
welcome.
the television. Yeah, I don't watch any of that either. I only hear about it through other people.
Yeah.
So, and as soon as I hear something, I'm like, no, that's not truth. That's not truth. But that's me. What's true for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this year feels like it's going to be a big year for, like, as we're speaking, um, especially the next few months. This is going to be really big on discernment for people, to really have discernment in what they're hearing and listening to, and uh, just deciding, okay, this is not my truth, without even having to go down the rabbit hole. Just really, yeah, that's not my truth. That's not something that's resonating for me. And switching over into that moment of presence to be able to transform that energy. And that's something, if we've been working on this for years and years, we're beginning to master it, or I'm not sure I can say I've completely mastered it. I'm not sure any of us have, but we are in the process of mastering that. And but there are many who have not learned how to do that yet. And so for anyone watching this and are still experiencing that and feeling the trauma as soon as they're hearing some information on the news, that's something to really be present with, be very, very present with, because it's so important right now that as soon as you hear any information, just be present with it. Bring in some peace in that moment. And when we say peace, complete neutrality is really where we're going with that, is 0 point and complete neutrality. And consciously feeling into yeah, see, I'm hearing, like, the consciousness of it, which is that that conscious space, which I see as the heart space, but also all of life. It's part of being conscious, is being connected to all of life. And so, having that moment of getting really conscious and just being in that state of neutrality, and making a conscious decision to not go into the story of it all, which can be really hard to do when there's a trigger. And so, but noticing the trigger is where the patterns changed. So that's the really important part that I would like to share with everyone who's still having difficulty with the triggering as soon as they hear a report or see something on the news, or, that's, notice the trigger, notice that trigger, and then begin to transform it. So
Yeah, and feeling into that moment, and just asking some questions too of yourself, I think, in that moment, which I've done a couple of times when I've been triggered, like, or immediately afterwards, okay, why did that trigger me? what is it about that got me so frustrated or angry, or, and what does this have to do with me?
Mm.
What does this have to do with me and my own personal reality, existence, my path? Is this something I need to do something about? Or does this have nothing to do with me whatsoever? And I just need to continue on being who I am and doing what I'm doing and staying in alignment with my own truth, and let that go, let it be what it is for whoever needs to experience that right now. And probably most of the time it's not for me to do anything about. It's I mean, sometimes, but or maybe to do something in a different way. Okay, maybe instead of letting it get me all angry in the injustice of it, or whatever it is, that it's okay, well, what would be a better response? What would be a more helpful response? And then kind of going to that. That's what I've been feeling lately, is like I think, Anya, you mentioned something earlier about stepping back. And it's kind of that, oh, okay, step back. Is this for me? How can I respond better? Or what is the response that's needed now? And trying to take that moment, come into that neutrality, and then shift your response, which then transforms and transmutes and creates a new pattern and a new way of being.
I love that. That's perfect.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, when you do get triggered, which we all do, take a look at it and begin to ask questions like, why? What's going on within me that I feel a need to react? You know, because anytime you react to drama, to gossip, to the news, like there's something else at work and at play that wants to get that out of you. And so to master your emotions, and start taking control of your behavior and your triggers, like exactly what Catherine just mentioned, start asking questions like, where is this coming from? You know, oftentimes, like I was taught to go into meditation, and if there's something like jealousy or rage or fear, I'm like, okay, I have to look at this. There's something going on with me. Is this from childhood? Is this, um, you know, from a family member? Is this mine? Like, is this a past life? And just wait for an answer and wait for it to present itself to you. And then once you begin to understand it, you can say, thank you, fear, you know, you can leave now. And just you know, that's a really good way to start being in control and start being like the pilot of your life, and start instead of being the co-pilot. And that's the difference with people who take charge of their own life versus, you know, we're kind of like a slave, for lack of a better word, a slave to everybody else's emotions and everybody else's energy. You know, you can begin to master that, and you know, become more aware of yourself and more in control. So yeah, that's really good, because triggers are going to be everywhere, and you've got to learn to master them so that you do take control of your life and you can manifest something more beautiful than always being angry at the person who cut in line, or the guy who cut you off, or the woman at the counter who didn't make eye contact with you. You know, they're all there to say, hey, something's going on. Let's see what's going on, because otherwise, you know, it could turn into a trapped emotion, and those trapped emotions stay in our body, you know, and they cause like dis-ease and discomfort, and we don't need that. We don't need that. So yeah. You guys put that so well.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was an interesting term, pilot and co-pilot. Like, that's a
Mhm.
good one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah, be the pilot. No, it's a good one.
Yeah. So many times we're letting other things control us. We're like, no, 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 no. You guys can
And
master
you
this.
and you know, for conscious people, when we really think about it, you know, if we're being conscious of our emotions, being conscious of our triggers, if we are choosing to ignore those triggers, and this is to, I mean, anyone who's going to be watching our podcast is coming from their heart space. You know, this is just, you know, the community. So if we're coming in and we know that we want to address our triggers, if we choose not to address our triggers, we're passing our baggage on to other people.
Mhm.
When we really think about it, I mean, we are passing that baggage on. And I can't fathom anyone in our community would ever want to do that, right? Because we're all doing the work. And so if we kind of think of it in that way, like, okay, let's see, that's part of that accountability. The word accountability or emotional maturity is constantly being, you know, expressed right now. And that's part of it. It's like, okay, let me pay attention to this trigger so that I'm not passing that baggage on to another person, so that or I'm not part of the perpetuating system of what's occurring right now. And so that's kind of what I was seeing, is that baggage getting passed on, you know. So yeah, yeah,
That's how energy works, you
that's
know.
how energy works.
I got triggered one time. Somebody took my parking spot and I was like, "Urgh." And I'm like, why did that bother me? But you know, I got an attachment from that.
Mm,
I was cranky that whole weekend. I'm like,
mm,
something's not right.
yeah.
You know, so I had to work and I had to go out in nature and I had to meditate. And I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, this is not fun. So yeah, watch those triggers. Pay attention, be in the moment. And you know, so many times people are cranky or they're angry and they think it's normal. It's not. It's not you. Trust me. It's something else that you got to look at and release it. Yeah. Yeah. So this would be a good year for you guys to take a look at your triggers, you know, and it can be overwhelming, you know, but
Yeah.
just do it, you know, when you feel you can, because it's intense to look at your own emotions and your own, you know, whatever's coming up, negative emotions, animosity, jealousy, whatever. It's not fun. It's not easy. If it were easy, we would all be healed, you know, but it takes a beautiful soul who wants to move forward to say, okay, let's do this,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
you're right, it's not easy. And it's especially not easy if you don't have a tribe to be able to process
Hmm.
with. So if you're alone and you don't have, you know, a family member or any friends that quite understand what you're going through. So it's hard. It takes determination. And but we all have it. We all have it. We all have the strength to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, Anya, you brought up a good point. Find your tribe, find like-minded people, you know,
Mhm.
start reading up on literature, start doing meditations. There's so many ways, so much information out there for you guys to do this. It can be done. Yeah.
I think there's so many platforms too where you can ask questions. You know,
Mhm.
this community is so loving and wanting to help.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's Facebook groups, there's even on ours with us. If you had a question and you wanted to post it, we'd be happy to share or offer support with whatever you're going through. But yeah, it's finding those places where you can feel comfortable expressing what you're going through. And
Feel
um,
comfortable to be vulnerable,
yeah,
right? Yeah. To
yeah.
be, you know, feel comfortable in being vulnerable without, and just knowing you're not going to be judged.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable is a super strength because we live in a society where
Hmm.
we're hiding from ourselves. we hide our true emotions from other people. You know, many of us don't speak our truth. We were, you know, we were yelled at, we were criticized as children for speaking our truth. So to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, you know, kudos to you guys. You know, it's a super soul to do that. Yeah. That's what legends are made out of, you know, vulnerability.